Virgil Herring, thanks for coming in.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
So you are the head of golf for the richest high school in the world. I mean, Innsworth High School. Sorry. Are they private or public?
It's private.
Tell me about y'all's golf facility. I've heard it's pretty crazy.
So we have 3 TrackMan simulators, Gears Golf 3D motion capture, and then 2 putting technologies. One Sam Putt Lab, and the other is TrackMan putting. We also have 2 brain measuring devices. One's neuropriming to get the brain ready to learn, and the other one is zone training, where I can basically teach you how to knock out your prefrontal cortex and find the zone. And that's probably the part that most intrigues me, is that given certain levels of talent, the biggest difference is what goes on in the mind. And that's what intrigues me the most.
So do y'all have the greens that can adjust?
No, we thought about that, but I thought that it was more important to have the third TrackMan than it was to have the adjustable green.
Okay.
So, and at the end of the day, with the green that we do have is really nice. We have slope in it already, and it allows us to work on all, down, up, left to right, right to left. So we kind of cover all the bases, but it was infinitely cheaper and allowed us to get that third TrackMan, which is really important when you got 24 people on a golf team.
So, TrackMan compared to the other ones that are camera-based, I've heard that it struggles being inside because it's radar-based and doesn't have enough distance. Is that true or false?
6 years ago, yeah.
Okay.
Now, no, because they have the second radar inside of it. So one tracks the ball, one tracks the head. And that was my biggest concern when I took a job that was going to be indoor only. Because when I signed up for the job, the TrackMan 3 was not very good at short range. But the new one, like, I tested all the players, and then we went to the driving range, and it was the exact same data, and I was like, whew, all right, now I can feel like I can still be the high-end coach that I want to be in an indoor environment, because beforehand I didn't think it was possible. Yeah,
and what's the one that all the pros are sponsored by? That's like $80,000.
That's TrackMan.
TrackMan. Oh no, it's camera-based from above. What Tiger uses.
The full swing golf?
Yeah, full swing or full swing.
So that's the thing. Most people don't understand that is that full swing golf. They all the tour players have TrackMan plugged into it because TrackMan is the Bentley of tracking devices. So there's GC Quad,
which that's what I'm putting in my garage.
Yes, and it's very good, and it gives more. Most people believe that it gives more precise face angle information at impact because it doesn't take into consideration where you hit it on the club head. TrackMan does. Other than that, you can't beat TrackMan.
Yeah, I'm doing the GC3, which is like $7,000.
Yeah, and it's very good. The only negative to it is you got the stickers on the face, and if you compete and you don't take the stickers off, you're DQ'd that day.
I got to put stickers on the face of my club
for it to read it. Yeah.
Oh, dang.
So that's the only negative. If not, it'll just track the ball, but it won't give you the data that you're looking for. Now, some people aren't looking for data. Some people are looking for the simulator and the shot, right? But to me, I'm a performance coach, so I need to know everything. People have it to entertain or just play golf. They don't need that, and it's a great device. And don't get me wrong, GC Quad and GC3, they're very good. But to get to what you have to make it read the data properly, that puts it in the same category as TrackMan, you got to put those stickers around the face.
Yeah. Do all your kids play PSG?
None. Actually, I would say it's pretty evenly distributed between Titleist, TaylorMade, and Callaway.
Okay.
And, I would say if people aren't biased and they just come in to get fit, I would probably say Callaway and Ping are 1, 2. But most people are very swayed, especially the kids are swayed by what's Rory playing, what's Tiger playing, what's John Rahm playing, what's so-and-so playing. And TaylorMade has the lion's share of players. So TaylorMade does get a lot of business because they spend a lot of money to get a lot of business.
Yeah.
And all the companies make great golf clubs. So at the end of the day, we're very fortunate there.
So is every, do y'all dominate? I mean, who else, there's no way there's a school in Tennessee that can compete with your golf program.
Well, facilities-wise, right? Well, facilities-wise, maybe not, but just we're the number 3 team in the country.
Okay.
We were 78-2 last year. We lost our first match, and we lost the state championship to Baylor in Chattanooga. Baylor is a boarding school, and they are phenomenal. I love their coach. Their kids are great. And we played them 6 times last year. We pounded them 4 times. And the first match, we didn't have our best players because it was still in the middle of the summer. But the state championship, they broke every record. Their players were great. They did a great job, and they outperformed us. So hats off to them. But we shot the 9th lowest score in the history of golf, and we lost by 17. So Baylor crushed us, and they deserve all the accolades.
What are these kids shooting?
Every one of their players shot under par.
Every single one.
Yeah, both days.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, so we had 3 guys shoot under par. We had at the top 10, 9 of the top 10 were Ensworth or Baylor players.
Yeah,
so it was very top heavy, and we're very good. So are they, and now they lose all 5 of their players this year, and I lose 2 of those 5.
Okay,
so we'll be very good again this year. So it's going to be fun.
In the nation, do you do so? That's state. Do you go to? Is there a national tournament?
We take on. Each particular state creates their own rules about whether teams can compete outside of the state. So there's actually, if you can believe it, probably more states don't allow schools to compete out of the state. But we do. We took it. We played Justin Thomas's high school up in Kentucky. They're ranked in the top 15. We've tried, COVID squished we tried to play Spieth's high school in Texas, in Dallas. It was a Jesuit school. We scheduled that 2 different times, and COVID squished that. We'll probably play them again this year. So we take on anybody that's willing to do like a home and home.
Do y'all drive there? How does that work?
We'll fly.
Y'all have a jet?
No, Southwest. But at the end of the day, when we played Kentucky, that school in Kentucky, we met them kind of in Sevierville, which is kind of like 3 hours for us, 3 hours for them.
Okay.
And that's also where the state championship is for Tennessee. So we went up there to get a practice round in, and we played 4 of the top 30 schools in the country right there. So it was pretty fun.
So back me up to, you out of high school, I guess.
Yeah.
What kind of led this path to being like the premier golf instructor?
Well, let's see here. I was a baseball player first. I tore my rotator cuff twice. And the only thing I cared about at 15 was pitching. And in 1989, they didn't do rotator cuff surgery on 15-year-olds. So it was surgical tubing and rehab and whatever. It took me 2 years to pitch again. And I'd lost some velocity, but I was still pretty good. And I tore it again in probably the greatest game that I ever played. And that was the end. And I was just, at that particular point, I was just playing golf to do something in the summer on off days when I couldn't pitch. Right? So, I mean, and golf became something I loved, but it was not anything on my radar screen until I tore my rotator cuff the second time. Then there was 4 schools in the country that had professional golf management. I went to Mississippi State, which was one of the 4 that had it. And from there, I met people that were good instructors. And then I met the actual National Teacher of the Year, Bill Strasbaugh. He took a liking to me, and he kind of put me under his wing, and that changed everything for me. I had somebody believe in me, because nobody in my family had ever played golf. So it was just something that I picked up to burn summertime. So the most popular, but one of the most famous teachers ever took me under his wing, gave me all of his information, gave me a roadmap on how to teach. And then I started my dad was a coach of everything that I did. So I had this natural coaching desire. I love to help people. And at the end of the day, I got addicted to helping people play better golf. And it's a hard game anyway. But to make people enjoy a game that's really difficult became fun. And actually probably my first 1,000 golf lessons were either with professionals at Mississippi State or the golf team. And with the golf team, the boys won the SEC championship 95, 96, 97, and the girls were ranked in the top 20. So I spent most of my early years of teaching golf, teaching the best players in the country. So I kind of took off, and I got my first job at Through the Green in Franklin. And they had one of the best junior programs in the United States right after Tiger wins the Masters in 97. And I just took off. And from there, that brought me Brant Snedeker. Snedeker, I taught Brant for 8 years. Snedeker brought me a lot of other tour players. And then when I had my first son, I decided I wasn't going to travel the tour anymore. I was kind of over it. It sounded really sexy when I was 23. Like, I want to be on the tour, and I want to be the next Butch Harmon or David Ledbetter. But it's not really for me. So I decided to just stay here in Nashville and be with my sons, and I don't regret that at all. I'm not quite sure that I even have a desire to get back out on the tour, to be honest with you. But it's it was a fun ride, dealing with who ended up being the number 6 player in the world at one point, Brant. And he's such a super guy. It made it fun, but it's not all it looks like. It's not as sexy as it seems out there. So, and that's how I got started, was that path. And between Brant and the other tour players, and then being a Golf Channel instructor, that really changed the game. Between Brant and Golf Channel, that's, a tour player, a tour winner, and the Golf Channel, you're in a pretty good spot. And that kind of paved the street for me.
So how did you get connected with him? What was your first intro to him?
Well, I taught a lot of his contemporaries, and in that class, there was 11 kids in Middle Tennessee that got Division I scholarships. There was a lot of talent here, and he was the only one that didn't have a coach. I taught 8 of the other 10, and with that came some, but I still didn't teach him until 2 other tour players, Harry Taylor and Bob Walcott, played with him at the golf club at Tennessee, and they saw they had a lot of talent, but it was loose and sloppy, and he's certainly one of the 5 greatest putters in the game, and probably a top 20 short gamer in the game. But if you can figure out how to hit it, you're destined to be a superstar. So those 2 guys said, you need to go see him. And I started teaching him the next day. And from there, it was written. I got off to a great start. He won a lot. And how winning is. Winning fosters more winning in this game anyway. His confidence shot up through the roof. And once he became the number 1 player in college golf, he knew where he was headed, and then wins the public links, plays in the Masters, makes the cut. And that really paved the street for him. That was like, of all the things that could have happened, win a major USG event, go to the Masters as an amateur, and really the only major championship that really celebrates amateur play, make the cut. He picks up an agent, gets a deal, and he gets his exemptions, and he takes advantage of his exemptions and goes to the nationwide tour, becomes player of the year, wins twice, big show, wins rookie of the year on the PGA Tour 2007, and now he's won like $85 million, won 10 times on the tour, FedEx Cup. And you could argue that he's the greatest player in Tennessee history, but if he's not, he's in the top 3 for sure.
I know the caddy gets a percentage of winnings as the coach.
Well, that's one of the tough conversations. Generally speaking, there's a contract between the player and the coach in one way, shape, or form. So it just depends. Yeah,
because you could demand that, right? Like, because you've worked with everybody. So you're able to say, like, hey, if you want me, like, we're now, like, my company that does custom design development, software, stuff like that. We're now with some projects, and this isn't all the time for anybody listening, whatever, but it's like, cool, we'll do all this, and we want 1% of all revenue that goes through this. And I'm like, well, I just know we're the company that can complete it. And we can complete it on time and on budget, and this is what I want as a part of that deal.
Yeah.
And I can demand that because we've done 1,000 projects.
Well, I would say it used to be that way on the PGA Tour. Now, keep in mind, I haven't been out there since 2009, okay? And the money's really changed it. But I remember vividly Stan Utley, who's a very good friend of mine. He's a short game guru. He was getting a lot of publicity. And that publicity was allowing him to, when he was not on the tour, to charge $10,000 a day to do short game clinics. All of a sudden, the tour players were like, if you're asking for a percentage of what I make playing, don't you think it's fair that I get a percentage of what you're making off my name? And then, like, the air brakes got hit on the payment piece. And now it's kind of like a contract.
Okay.
And that's where the agents became, for the coach, a real pain. Is that instead of us getting a percentage or a kickback on certain, top 10 would get X, a win would get X. Now it just became, you couldn't charge what you charge if you didn't teach my client. So I think you just you do what you want to do, and we're going to do what we do, and thanks for your help. Butch Harmon doesn't get that because Butch Harmon's the GOAT. David Ledbetter doesn't get that because he founded the golf teacher job. Everybody else, I don't know how they're making it out there anymore. Because that was one of the major things that made me disgusted with the deal, is that when it changed that quickly, I'm like, wait a second, I get it, what you're saying. But I mean, there's also, I've been working since you were 18 years old. We've been down this road a long time, but I mean, at the end of the day, They're the player. They're the ones hitting the shots. So they're the CEO.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's how I viewed it. Okay, that's how it works for you, and I get it. Then I'm off.
What happened to Hank Haney? I mean, he lost Tiger, and then I've never heard from him or seen him again. I feel like he was everywhere. And I stopped playing golf around that moment, so maybe that's why. But I feel like I haven't seen his face or name.
He's not an easy person. I think that he ruined Tiger, personally. And here's the thing. He was old, and he got lucky, fortunate, and he works hard, right? So his management company bought the mailing list of every golf magazine in the world, the email and mailing list. He came out with the Hank Haney Blueprint, which was just an online instruction service. And he was making like $12 million a year. And if you've ever traveled the tour and all of a sudden you're making 12, you ain't traveling the tour anymore.
Yeah.
So he's down in Cabo San Lucas at El Dorado. If he teaches golf, it's Michael Phelps, a couple other super rich people, and he's just on Easy Street down there. And he stuck his foot in his mouth recently, maybe 2 years ago, on PGA Tour radio, when somebody asked him who he thought was going to win the Women's U.S. Open. He said some woman named Lee, and a girl named Lee won, but it was viewed wrong, and the way he said it didn't sound right. But at the end of the day, he's made a ton of money off of his website, and good for him.
Yeah, so it's interesting. He had a TV show many years ago.
Oh yeah,
and he was like, I distinctly remember watching one episode only, and it was this like 14-year-old that flew in from China or like Japan, mm-hmm. and he was like, I've been with her for 3 hours. She hasn't missed a shot yet. Like every shot's been perfect. And so. And then he goes on to talk about how, like, Asians are just dominant at golf, right? And so I heard that, and then, like, fast forward 8 years is this, like, clip here. And I'm like, look, like, if his comment is like, I don't know, some Asian, right? Like, you can view that in a bad light, but he's also right.
I think that was his argument. His argument was, I was right. And not only was I right by saying there was probably going to be an Asian that won, her last name was going to be Lee. And keep in mind, there's 6 of them, and they're all really good. He was right. It wasn't anything else other than the tone of voice that he delivered it with, the matter of fact, I don't want to answer LPGA Tour questions.
Yeah.
And it sounded poor.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it was wrong, but...
Is he an asshole?
He's always been respectful and kind to me, but I have watched him be less than stellar. Yeah,
because the fact that he was Tiger's guy, and then he releases a book to clear his name and like throw Tiger under the bus.
Well, I think it was interesting. I thought that was one of the best books I've ever read.
I read it.
It had like 2.5 pages of stuff that he should have left out. Other than that, I thought that he actually did a very good job of representing him. But keep in mind, he did a lot of things to ruin Haney while they were working together. Now, whether or not that was actually true statements, which is very possible, about what he had him working on and et cetera. But at the end of the day, it was the truth.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. Do you air out somebody else's dirty laundry, and what's the price to pay on that? But I thought it was phenomenal, especially the coaching stuff.
Have you watched the HBO documentary on Tiger?
No, but I've read everything that there is to read about Tiger. I don't have HBO, so I haven't really looked at it, but I heard that it was heavy.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's obviously not an authorized film.
Yeah, for sure.
And, it like, there's things that aren't shocking to anybody. Like, oh, his parents were crazy. Oh, well, not a surprise when you have this dude that cannot be affected, right? Doesn't show emotion. Like, of course you have crazy parents.
Yeah, for sure.
The most shocking thing to me, he'd like hooked up with this waitress, like early on in his marriage, that lived in the same city and everything as him. And they had, like TMZ or so had photos of it. And they go to him like, hey, you're going to pose on the cover of Men's Health magazine, and we're going to make this go away. And he's like, okay. And then he goes right back into it. And I was like, man, like he got this like lifeline, and he just shoop.
Yeah. So, what's interesting is if we remember, Tiger had never lost the lead until he lost to Y.E. Yang at the 2009 PGA Championship. It was that day, that morning, that Sunday morning, that his agent got the call. So the reason why Tiger played poor, got a little club throw, he got angry, and he was reacting differently than he's ever acted before on the golf course. That's the day it went down, the final round of the PGA Championship in 2009.
Wow.
So that's what happened. And it was bizarre, right? Because when you see that behavior, I'm like, man, I've never seen him act like this. Well, if your world was getting ready to come crumbling down, it's easy to see why you'd be acting like this.
Yeah.
I just, we didn't know it until the day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's so crazy how damn good he was, right? Like
100%. Probably the greatest. I think that he's the greatest at what he does at his sport than anybody's ever been great. I think he's better than Jordan, better than Babe Ruth, better than Pele, better than Gretzky or Lemieux. I think that he is the standard of excellence in a sport.
Do you remember? I don't remember what year it was. I was really into golf until I was 18. And so there was one year where he started the year and he won the first 9 tournaments in a row.
6.
Yeah.
Sir 6. Yeah.
And it's like everybody knew it. It was like tournament 3. They're like, oh, here goes into 4. Lead, dominates. 5, dominates.
There were so many tournaments that were over by Friday afternoon. You're like, what's the point of even watching? Like, it kind of made me not want to watch golf on TV because it was over by the time the telecast was over on Friday, because he was winning by 6 and nobody's beating Tiger on the weekend by 6 shots.
Yeah.
Period.
Man, how crazy.
He was, think about it, there's a couple of different times in his career where he was number 1 in every statistic except bunker play. And another thing that's pretty profound is 3 different times his up and down percentage was higher than the number 2 player, by percentage, by differential that was higher than the worst player on tour compared to the second best player on tour. So his short game was better than everybody. He hit it longer than everybody. He's the greatest iron player that's ever lived. And for a window of time, he drove the ball excellently. But that was in 2000 to 2003.
Are you saying that Haney's responsible for him not driving the ball well?
100%. 100%. And I tell you that Sean Foley gets a bad rap because Tiger was a broken machine at that point. And he was hired to be the eyeballs for Tiger's brain. Tiger wanted to not put the strain on his left knee, so he had an idea of how he could swing it and not have to have knee surgery again. So Sean Foley was the overseer of Tiger's ideas. But not many people know that. So when they see how poorly he played in the Sean Foley era, they discount the injuries, they discount the opiate addiction, they discount all of the things that he was going through, but more than anything, he was broken. But Sean Foley takes a lot of heat for that. But I always say, well, if you think it's Sean Foley's problem, then why does Justin Rose not do that? And why does Stephen Ames not do that? It's because Tiger's bigger than Sean Foley.
Yeah.
So he's like, do you want to join me and be my eyeballs? Yes, is what Sean Foley would say. I don't have to tell you anything, in my opinion. I'll just tell you what I'm doing. I'll offer my insights on what you ask. But I mean, at the end of the day, Tiger's the greatest that there's ever been at it.
His first Masters, he won by 9 strokes, or what was the
won by 12 in 97.
Yeah, was that his first ever
as a professional?
Yeah,
he played in he won the amateur 3 times in a row. So he played in the Masters as an amateur a couple of times.
So he plays the Masters as a pro and wins by 12, which nobody's ever won by that much, right?
Correct.
And he's the only black player in golf, right? At that point,
I don't believe any of the black players were on the tour at that point because Lee Elder was not, Sifford was not. They were all retired, and Jim Thorpe wasn't on it. No, so he was the only African American.
And then
player
he was
the
the youngest by. Right?
Mm-hmm, that's right.
So were you there? I mean, like, I've always wanted to be somebody that's there.
97, I was not there.
So, because I just have always wondered, like, what is it like to just see golf the way it is and see this, like, very young black man show up? And I state that just because it's like my favorite joke in the world is, like, what's 400 people chasing one black guy, the PGA Tour? Because it's like, it's got to be, like, he's shocking on every level. Then to win by 12 strokes is, like...
I think what it did is it woke people up for sure. People, when we think about greatness, we were at that particular point, we're thinking Nicklaus, and then we get Tom Watson or Arnold Palmer, and then we have like a Greg Norman, Nick Faldo phase, right? And all of those guys were really good at something. Tiger was really good at everything. And there was no weaknesses, so there was no chinks in his armor. It didn't make a difference if you were playing on a short, tight course, wide open and long, super fast greens, super small greens. Didn't make a difference. He was gonna whip you. And I think in 97 it caught people off guard because they didn't think that he was going to be able to win like that early. But I think what we saw in 2000 and between 2000 and 2002, we'll probably never see again. That was in a different stratosphere. Unbelievable.
So I am 28 and was born in 94. So what happened during 2000 to 2002?
Well, so at the end of 99, he wins the PGA Championship over Sergio Garcia. And that's the first time he'd won since the 97 Masters as a major. But then he catches a bad day of heavy wind and bad weather at the Masters. And Vijay Singh ends up winning the 2000 Masters. But he wins a bunch before that. And then from the U.S. Open, he wins the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach by 15 shots. That's the standard of all whippings that there's ever been. He wins the Open Championship by 8. And takes down the number 2 player in the world, David Duval, number 3 player, Ernie Els, badly. Then he wins the PGA Championship of Valhalla in that majestic playoff against Bob May. Then he wins, in between there, he wins every invitational. So that's Jack's tournament, Arnie's tournament, Byron Nelson's tournament. He wins the Players' Championship and every World Golf Championship. He holds them all at the same time. And then he wins the Masters in 2001. So he has the Tiger Slam. He owns the title of every invitational at the PGA Tour throws, and he has won every World Golf Championship. How you doing? That's whipping people. And so then he wins.
How does he not fall off? Like, this is what's so shocking to me about this, is that, like, how does somebody not only have a killer year, because, like, we've all played good golf and bad golf,
yep.
And somehow maintain a killer year for like 10 years.
That's what separates him. I think it's a mentality. I think that, like in the book, His Father's Son, which is, in my opinion, of all the books that tell the story, that's the best one. It's about Earl. He was trained to be a special forces killer with a golf club in his hand. He learned all the mental stuff for torture, pain, interference, and how to overcome it. And then you give him radical talent. You give him that kind of mental toughness. He has the Buddhist background, the meditative background, so he has the ability to calm, the ability to block out, and a work ethic that is second to none. There's your answer. And really the biggest answer is to how he could handle it mentally.
Yeah.
And that's what he was trained for, and that's what nobody really understands.
How many balls was he hitting a day, probably?
Somewhere between 500 and 1,000.
Okay.
And now, I don't think that was necessary at a certain point, but he took it to a whole nother level. That's what broke his body. He probably could have not, but he was also, when he and Butch Harmon split, he said, I need to change my swing because my left knee is starting to bother me. And Butch Harmon's like, what are you talking about? You got the greatest golf swing that there's ever been, including Ben Hogan. He goes, well, I need to change it. He goes, well, so you're going to have to find somebody else to screw you up because I'm not doing it. Boom, fired. And he said, I can't believe that you don't want to just maintain what you have. He goes, I'm allergic to the word maintain. I don't ever want to maintain. I want to keep going. Well, you have to do it on somebody else's time. And, at the end of the day, when I interviewed Butch Harmon, when I did PGA Tour Radio, Butch said, we'd ask us, he was really struggling in 2014. Is Tiger coming back to you? He goes, son, we didn't burn that bridge. We blew it up. So something went on there that there are words that'll never be taken back.
Yeah.
And Butch is a special forces guy. And you're not going to treat him like that. Whether Tiger's right or Butch is right, it wouldn't make a difference. If you talk to somebody who's been a special forces,
we've interviewed a lot of special forces.
They're not taking that. They're not taking that. So he didn't care. He's like, that's on you, not me. But that's the thing that's so impressive is how he was trained was like an Army Ranger. Not a Navy SEAL, because Butch, his dad wasn't. He was an Army Ranger. But it's similar.
Yeah. So I have the worst course management.
You have course manglement?
Yeah, I guess so. So a good example, I'm trying to play more. And so I played my first or second round of the year at West Haven, friends member, played 9, and I'm 4 under through 5 holes, and then I double bogey, sit 7, 8, 9. And I think, like, man, I'm pretty good for a guy that plays, like 2 rounds a year to be able to birdie holes like this. And then at the same time, I love going for it. And I love pulling driver on every. What would you, as a coach, like what? Because I equate that to being immature, right? Like I look at myself like I'm playing immaturely. So you, who teaches high school students that are very immature, what do you do to fix them on course management?
Well, first thing, that's an interesting statement, okay? So what you really are doing, you have 2 choices when you play golf. Are you trying to enjoy the day and hit shots you'll always remember? Or are you trying to shoot the lowest score? It sounds like, to me, that you go out to play golf to hit shots, have fun, and take on risk and see if you can't hit 2 or 3 amazing shots a day, because that's what you're going to remember. Is that a fairly accurate assessment?
I guess. Yeah. The thing is, I love like betting against and playing against people.
Sure.
So I like the both, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to win on a par. I want to win on like a knock-in birdie.
Yeah. I would just tell, it sounds like you play golf for the enjoyment of the shots.
Yeah.
Not the enjoyment of the score. If I told you were going to shoot 72 and you were going to have 7 birdies and you were going to hit unbelievable shots throughout your round, or I was going to tell you that you were going to shoot 68 and it was going to be really boring. You're going to chip in once. You're going to birdie 3 of the par 5s with tap ins after your second putt. Which one sounds better to you?
Yeah, definitely the first one.
Of course. So I tell people all the time, do not get confused. You don't have bad management. You have great management for what it is that you're trying to get out of the game for yourself. And that's not a bad thing. But if you're trying to win money or trying to be a champion, you have to learn how to manage it, because it's a 4-day sprint at the PGA Tour, 3-day sprint in college, and 2 days for high school in big tournaments, right? So your decision making, you can't win the golf tournament on the 3rd hole, but you can lose it on the 3rd hole. And so there's a guy named Scott Fawcett who invented the decade system. The decade's just an acronym for 6 critical mental thoughts. And he has millions of shots from ShotLink that clearly demonstrate what the best players in the world do when they win versus the when they don't. And the strategy that he came up with changed the game. In my opinion, it went like this. Video changed the game. TrackMan changed the game. Scott Fawcett in the decade system changed the game, because he clearly delineates when you hit driver and when you don't, how far you aim from a flagstick on every shot, with every club from every yardage. He clearly demonstrates how important it is to roll putts the right speed, not the right line. He clearly points out that if you've appropriately picked your spots to hit into the green, you will always have easy up and downs. He's a genius. In my opinion, Scott Fawcett is one of the MVPs of golf in the last 5 years, because almost all the tour players apply his knowledge, and those that don't have somebody similar to him probably using his information to help them. So that's really what it comes down to. When I'm trying to help kids, there's no opinion in Scott Fawcett's work. It's millions and millions of shots from the greatest players in the world, and it clearly states in the evidence where they're aiming, what they're doing, when they hit driver, when they don't, where they aimed, everything. It's amazing stuff. Decade. It's an app. You can look it on YouTube. Anybody that loves golf, Scott Fawcett is a great friend of mine. Look it up.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
It's unbelievable. It's so good. Like, it'll change you, because all of a sudden you can play both ways with his information. Because once you understand shot dispersion and like what he calls the shotgun, most people think they're snipers with the golf club in their hand. They think they got one shell, they got a scope, and they're taking dead aim. But what we really have is a shotgun. So when you hit 100 shots, that looks like a shotgun dispersion on TrackMan. It's like balls scattered out across this thing. Well, 90% of the shots fall within a parameter. 10 are outliers, so we don't count those. The 10 that are bad shots, you can't really prepare for a bad shot. What's your average doing? Once you understand what your average shot dispersion is compared to your aim, you learn how to aim your shot dispersion. And when you aim your shot dispersion, you hit it closer to the hole strategically than just taking dead aim at it. And then the game gets easy because now your bad shots still end up on the green, or they end up below the hole just off the green. And you don't make any stupid mistakes. So even when you're playing aggressive, you're playing smart. And when you're playing scared, you're still playing smart. So it doesn't matter how your emotions affect you. That's the Ian decade, emotions. How to control your emotions. So it's all about understanding that if you know your shot dispersion, you can aim your shot dispersion and never find yourself in trouble. And the key is to have no penalties, no extra wedge shots, and no three putts. If you don't have any penalties off the tee or approach shots over water, you have one wedge hole, whether it's from 122 or 2, you hit the green on your first wedge shot, and you have no three putts, you can't shoot over 74. You can't. You can't shoot over 74.
Yeah. I just feel like I have a mental block where I can't play
because you don't
smart.
have the information. Because you don't have the information.
Yeah.
If you have the information, you'll be like, and it's very clear. Like he makes it, like you won't even argue it. They'll be like, whoa. Now I understand. He makes it very clear.
I guess when I get my simulator, also like I'll practice enough. I'll hit enough balls.
Yeah, you'll see your dispersion. It'll be very clear. Like if you just hit 50 balls with a 7-iron, and you have watched Scott's information either on his app or on YouTube, and you'll be like, oh, all of my pulls go long and left. All of my heel shots finish short and right. So your shot dispersion will look like an oval that's tilted long left, short right. And now you just have to figure out how to put that oval over the green in your mind so that the most amount of those shots are on the green.
Yeah.
And that's your aim. Wherever that shot dispersion puts the most amount of balls on the putting surface, the center of that dispersion is where you aim, roughly. So most of the time it's like 8 feet right, 8 feet left, 12 feet left. You got a 9-iron in your hand from the middle of the fairway, it's probably 8 feet left. You got a lob wedge in your hand from 60, it's probably 2 feet left or right. But you're not aiming it at it. You're aiming it just barely off. Is it below the hole? Is it so that it funnels toward the hole when it lands? There's a lot that goes into it, but it's not as complex as I make it sound because he's done all the complexities.
Yeah.
And he waters it down to something radically simple. Decade. Check it out.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. All right, so you've written one book, couple books?
3. So I did. My first one was the Golf Journal, which is statistical analysis, right? So my job was to help you log your rounds, keep the statistics, and then with every other page had a tip on it that helped you manage your statistics. So it was a very watered down version of what Scott has put together. But what I wanted people to see is that there are trends in your game. If you logged 100 rounds of golf, you would see that every one of your rounds that were good were radically the same. And all of the ones that were really disappointing were radically the same. And as soon as you start to see your behavioral trends, you start to eliminate the things that make you play bad golf, and you get better. The second book I wrote and the third book I wrote were co-written with former Vanderbilt basketball star Drew Maddox. I met Drew at a Christmas party 3 years ago. We hit it off like brothers from another mother. And he said that he wanted to write a book. And I said, well, I've already written one. It's not that hard. He goes, I don't think I can do it. So why don't we just do one together? So the first book we wrote is called Elevated. We picked 50 words that sounded like they would elevate you. And we told stories about what the words meant to us, either as the player, the coach, or a spectator. And then that was a raging success. I wasn't prepared for the success that it brought us. Neither was he. I wrote it because I really think that he's one of the best human beings in the world, and I enjoyed spending time with him. So we wrote a second one called Excavated, because coming out of the pandemic, people didn't need to be elevated. They needed to be excavated. Depression, anxiety. The world got flipped upside down. Many people lost their jobs for what appears right now no very good reason. So we picked 50 more words that were deeper, heavier, and wrote stories from the player, the coach, or the spectator to help uplift people to remember that I know it's really hard, but we've had really hard times before. This person really persevered through it, and this person represents this word beautifully. So those 3 books, and Elevated, the podcast, is the one that's being picked up by Cumulus, and we'll be using that one. That'll be kind of nationwide here pretty soon. Nice. And it's just it's basically, we're just going to be using the words that we wrote about. But when we're talking, we're able to talk about way more things than we would if we were writing. And it'll be more interactive, and we'll probably certainly have guests and what have you. But I mean, at the end of the day, Drew Maddox has really made me a better person and a coach, and hopefully he would say the same thing about me. But we're a great team because we're 2 different sports. But what it takes to be great, there aren't many things that make greatness occur. So we just kind of relate back and forth between the things that we see that make people great. He talks about basketball, I talk about golf, and then we bring it together and tie it into business. Or
you know Shane Foster?
I'm actually going to do a podcast with him next week.
Yeah, one of my best friends.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so next Wednesday I do my podcast with him.
My wife has to go outside when he's here playing ping pong because it gets so loud.
Really? He's a competitor.
One time we were on a trip. We were in Miami together, and I don't drink. And we're at a hotel, and we're with a group, and everybody's been drinking, an okay amount. Mm-hmm. And I challenged him to play Connect 4. And he can't beat me, and he starts to lose it. Like it's 3 a.m, and we're just going pop.
That's a good game to play too, right there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I didn't come from a wealthy family. I bought golf clubs at a garage sale for $20, and my dad is a realist, which is how negative people label themselves. Mm-hmm. So he just comes outside, starts yelling at me. It's how he communicates. It's fine. Uh-huh. Like sometimes I share that with people that are horrified. It's like it's just how some people communicate that way. Mm-hmm. And so he was like, we don't have money. We're never going to be rich. Like you're never going to be able to play golf. Golf is a rich man's game. You'll never be able to play. Right? That's his statement. I'm like, okay, well, I already bought these. Here we go. So, teach myself. I have a video camera, and so I'm putting my swing next to Tiger's and learning, had no friends my whole life. So I just kind of had a bunch of time to work on things.
Sure.
And was a volunteer at a Metro course, which allowed me to play for free, and found my way in there. But because, I kind of raised myself in one sense. I didn't really have a lot of golf etiquette. Mm-hmm. So I found myself being very good at shit talking and really good at breaking people down mentally until I found out that you're not supposed to do that. And I think that's what's so interesting about golf. There's, I played in a couple youth tournaments, maybe 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. And I distinctly remember walking down a fairway, looking at a guy and go, you don't have a chance of beating me, right? I don't even know why you showed up today. And I'm 14, I'm 15 years old. And he is this guy freaked out. I mean, he essentially walked off the course. Mm-hmm. And then his mom hunted me down and got all mad at me. Cause I took a taxi cab to the golf tournament. My parents didn't even drop me off. Everybody's there with their golf coach. I was just this, I just kind of got lucky that I got a golf. So, is that a part of the game? What is the line there? It's very strange to me.
Keep in mind that just because it's not normal doesn't mean that it's not okay. But what would happen is that would not work on people that were better than you. It would work with people that are in the same talent level as you. So it would backfire against you when people were better. But when you were playing with like-minded, it was an advantage, right? So there's plenty of people that have that in them that play on TV now, right? It's just that it's not normal because it's a classy game and it's a gentleman's game. But I could argue that that's BS. At the end of the day, though, strategic shit-talking is a different ball game. And the best of the best do it. Tiger and Phil are the 2 kings because they know how to do it in a classy way in front of others, and they're ruthless within the buddy system. And I would tell you that at the end of the day, I would tell you that's actually not a bad thing. It's just how you deliver the message and what's the end goal for you? At the end of the day, was it to ruin that kid's day, or was it just you being you? If it was you being you, it's you being you, but it would only work to a certain point. And then you would be humbled by others.
Yeah.
And
Which
then,
I was often. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's what it's all about, is that you would then, over time, you would start to realize when it works and when it doesn't work. And as soon as you started to understand that, it would become a weapon for you. You thought it was a weapon because it worked early, and then you'd apply it a lot, and then like, oop, that didn't work. That worked negatively. And then you learned. But I've been telling you right now, the very best players, they have it.
Interesting.
They have it all.
Will it always be the PGA Tour, or will it be another tour?
Well, the PGA Tour, I can't foresee it not being the king. They're too heavily invested, too powerful. They're an elephant in the room. But I think that there'll be other tours that'll come along. I think we're experiencing that right now between the PGL and the LIV, or the SGL, the Saudi Golf League, and the Premier Golf League. They're trying to get a world tour. Greg Norman started it back in the late 80s or early 90s. And how he got treated there really made him angry. And what Fincham and Norman got in an argument about, that's what led to the World Golf Championships. But where it failed was the World Golf Championships really hardly ever went around the world. Stayed in the United States. So back and forth it goes, and they do stretch out some. And then like the Asian Tour and the European Tour start to get some high-end events where they got enough money to attract Tiger Woods to go, like in Dubai, some in Australia, So then they would go, and they'd have to ask permission for the PGA Tour to leave, because it would always counter another PGA Tour event. I think what we're going to see is this in the Saudi Golf League or Premier Golf League. I believe that I know that they're going to have an event in June. They have 8 already scheduled. Greg Norman's the chairman or the president of it, right? They're going to go, and there are going to be PGA Tour players that go play. Then they're going to wait to see what the PGA Tour does. If they suspend the players, which is what they're saying they're going to do, they'll take them to court. They'll take the PGA Tour to court. And in a similar fashion, the Asian Tour did this, and the Asian Tour lost. So, because you can't tell private contractors when and where they can't play if they're private contractors. They're not getting a salary. So at the end of the day, the PGA Tour will lose that, and then we'll have a world tour. And I think that's what we probably need. We probably need 35 events in the United States. And then we need to go to Australia. We need to go to New Zealand. We need to go to Singapore. We need to go to China. We need to go to India and have these events around the world, because it's a worldwide game.
We finally signed a client in New Zealand yesterday. Uh-huh. I've been trying to find a way to ride off a vacation there for years.
Now you can.
Yeah, so excited.
Yeah, man, absolutely. There's like 3 golf courses you got to go play there.
Yeah, because I heard this. Isn't there like a big falling out with Phil Mickelson right now, looking at doing the Saudi tour and the PGA freaking out?
It's just because of how once again, Phil's Phil, right? So he said things that he should never say. If he just would have watered down his tone, we have some things we have to pay attention to here. And what this tour is going to do is it's going to force the PGA Tour to tidy it up a little bit. If he'd have said that, great. But no, he throws the commissioner under the bus. Maybe manipulates the facts. Now, I don't have the facts in front of me. I'm not. But if Rory McIlroy is telling you that you're out of line, you're out of line.
Is Rory a nice guy?
Yeah. I think that he is what we always wanted Tiger to be. It's just that Rory's not as big as Tiger, so he wasn't a worldwide celebrity.
Especially in height. It's one of the only pro golfers I've ever met. And
he's small, and probably when you met him, he didn't weigh much either. Now he's a beast. He's
really?
Shredded. Yeah, he's very strong.
I mean, he was ripped, but he was still tiny.
Yeah, but he's still short, but he's thick. But I think he's the greatest voice of the game right now. He has the smartest way of articulating what's going on, not only for himself. He's honest. Like, man, when he plays poorly, he gives the most beautiful, articulate answers of struggle. When he plays great, he does it in a humble but profound way. Like, I really did this well today. I don't usually do this, or this really worked out on my behalf. This worked out. And he does a great job of telling the truth about the facts of the business of the tour, because he's now one of the tour reps. He represents the tour players for the PGA Tour. So, I mean, he's...
Oh, does he not play anymore?
Oh, he does.
Oh, okay.
Well, but the PGA Tour players voted him as somebody they went to represent them.
Oh, okay.
So he and I think Stuart Sink, and I can't remember who the other two are, but I mean, he is probably...
Who's the guy that didn't pay his caddy that everybody freaked out over?
Matt Kuchar.
Yeah. That backfired.
That did not go well. That did not go well for sure. I think he's still, he gets ripped on that all the time. He just didn't handle that very good at all. I think that's the thing that all what we're learning is that everybody faces adversity and struggle. It's how you choose to handle it. And because tour players, they have to be a little narcissistic because they're the only person rooting for them out there. They don't have a team.
Yeah.
There's 144 guys playing 144 guys. Nobody's on anybody else's team. So if you don't have thick skin and a radical self-belief system, you can't survive. So when he says, what are you talking about? I had a contract with this guy. I paid him more than he would have made in a month. When we agreed to it, he was super excited about it. Now I win. Now he wants to back out of the agreement and get paid what he should have gotten paid. Well, if you're Matt Kuchar, you're like, wait a second, we had an agreement. I said I was going to pay you this. You were unbelievably excited that I was going to pay you this. You did a great job. I won. Now, all of a sudden, that's not good enough. Well, if I'd have finished 14th, how would you have felt? Would you have complained then? It's because I won. That's not fair because that wasn't our agreement. So there's that side of the story. And then there's the side of the story of, dude, you just won $1.1 million. If you give this guy 10%, did it affect you much as you've already won $90 million? But you changed this guy's life forever. Isn't that noble?
It wasn't 10%. It was like 5% or less, right? It was.
Well, his original, he agreed to pay him before? Oh, yeah, it was significantly less.
Well, no, it was like $5,000 was the original agreement, I think.
I think that probably sounds about right. But I would say that when I was out there, that's more than the average caddy got paid.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, what did it look like? It looked like a guy who's won $100 million is whining over X amount of dollars because the caddy was a local caddy and he helped him win. You can't say that he didn't help him win. And now he's not wanting to pay him the appropriate percentage. So there's that side of the story. And then there's the side of the story of we came to an agreement. You were really, really excited about getting paid $5,000. And now I win. And now you're backtracking and knifing me. Oof.
Yeah, it's very interesting when people don't consider PR or don't consider, like, the reason I hate contracts to begin with is because if you're somebody who plays by the contract, then you're a shitty person almost all the time. So like at our company, we offer unlimited revisions, and other people that own agencies, I don't know why you do that or how you do that. Well, people paid us money. We want to make sure they're 100% happy. That's the way to do that.
Yeah.
Because the second you go, well, this is not in the contract, that's not a good look. Everybody gets mad.
That's right. Very true. It's weird because when you're starting to get into big money, you start throwing two commas in to the equation. Big money requires a contract.
Yeah.
Because somebody's going to try to take somebody to the cleaners. Especially when you get three commas. You get three commas in it, you're going to start talking about people who are going to be following it to the letter because they don't want to get taken.
Yeah.
And that's what it all comes down to is money, greed, and how it changes people.
Yeah, it is. It is weird. People that desire money more than relationships.
Yeah. They're hollow.
Like we have one client that sucks, and I talk about it all the time. He's our token bad client, and because we have several hundred clients, it's fine.
His name's Token.
There's a South Park episode about this. Have you seen this?
That's right.
I haven't seen it. My wife told me about it.
Oh yeah, that's exactly right.
So anyway, he drives. He's got a 458 Ferrari. He's has a huge real estate portfolio, and I know all of this because we were good friends. And there was a miscommunication of our literally $100 a month. And it's on the contract and everything. So the miscommunication is totally his end,
Yeah.
And he was like, "You're a scam artist. You'll never succeed. You'll never be anything." You're like, just all this crazy stuff. Nobody's ever talked to me that way or just gone like berserk. And I thought, and after I'd cool down and moved myself, and I go, wow, this guy cares about $1,200 a year more than he cares about relationships. And for his business, I've had about, I don't know, probably about $500,000 worth of money that would have gone to his business of people I didn't refer because of how he treated this relationship.
Sure.
And he's in kind of a relationship business. So to me, it's shocking that he doesn't, feel that way. But yeah, it's very odd. I mean, because that's ultimately what I think is that, like, if people value money over relationships, then everything is transactional.
100%.
And that is, some things are very transactional. You go to Publix, you buy groceries, transactional. But like some things definitely aren't.
For sure. And I think that that's also a lost art in human civilization right now too. We don't know how to interact anymore. And I think that we're going to see more of that because there's a lot of kids that are growing up, probably starting at age 10 or 11, that they're typing things in a text message that they would never say to somebody's face. And they're getting away with it for years on end. And then all of a sudden they find themselves out of college in their first job and they get a little hacked off at something and they verbalize something that they would normally have texted, and they get their teeth knocked out. And we're going to start to see more and more of that. Like I just heard a story yesterday about a CEO who fired 900 people on a Zoom call.
Have you seen the Zoom call?
It's awful.
It's hilarious.
It is. But I mean,
have you seen this?
But he is a person who grew up in the iPhone era, who has gotten away with stuff like this forever. And he has no ability to interact like a human, and he totally got fired.
Okay, so what is it's a mortgage company. If you're on Google, you can look it up and find it. It's I want to call it the company so I can make a YouTube clip out of this. Honestly, anyway, they're a mortgage company essentially that makes it like really easy for you to get a mortgage or refinance. Actually, is what they make it easy to do. And so if you've seen the call.
It's unbelievable. I could not believe
What's
it.
the company?
It just says US. Better.com.
Yeah, better.com.
Better.com.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's the best part. It's got better.com. Okay. So he, it's like a low quality, like the fact that every Zoom call is low quality. It's like if you're the CEO of a 2,000 employee company, you need to have a setup like this. Like I sometimes will take my Zoom calls with one of these cameras, right? It looks like, and every person in the car goes, "Wow, what webcam do you have?" So first off, it's like super low quality. It's like straight from his Mac, and this is the best part. He's like, obviously, this is a really tough thing to do. He's got like no emotion. It's like, obviously, this is a really hard decision. We have to let go of 30% of our workforce. And if you're on this call, you're part of that 30%.
Open mouth, insert leg.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Terrible.
So, yeah, I mean, part of that is there is a thing that now, because of venture capital and private equity, some people build companies so quickly. They're never told no. And so that's really, it really just comes down to they just become like the kid in the chocolate factory. I I guess all of them, but really, I always think about the fat kid that falls in the river in Willy Wonka. Like that's who I think they all become. They come from this like little chubby fat kid that like is very sensitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, dopamine addicts become narcissists.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, that's what you're seeing, is that when you haven't been told anything else other than how great you are, and all of a sudden something happens, inevitably it will. That's what the most important thing for people to hear. No matter how great of a run you're on, at some point that run is going to end, even if it's a short glimpse. How you handle that moment is going to be very telling for where you're going in the future. And that was a fumble. That was an epic fumble on his behalf.
Yeah, I think he even did a humble brag to start the Zoom. I think he said this. He was like, well, at my previous company that I grew to 3,000 employees, I never had to do that. I think it was like, I could be wrong. Could have ended up. But
so
I feel
narcissist. It was like, what is a narcissist? Click better.com. Unbelievable. Oh my God. It's terrible.
Yeah. It's so funny. Narcissist has become a favorite word of people recently.
You're going to see more of it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely a narcissist. I think there's different levels of it.
Everybody has the trait.
Yeah.
Everybody has the trait. It's just how far you're willing to go while acting on it.
And it's just about being transparent about it, right? Like this is ultimately what I try to teach everybody at my company and everything is that like I'm okay with whatever. We just need to openly communicate about it. I just don't like being sidewiped.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So like that if we mess up, I'm gonna freak out because as a company we have very high standards. So if I see something that is dumb, this is a dumb example. On websites where it's like copyright. Every developer knows that it should automatically update every year. So when it flips into 2022, it should say 2022. So when I go on a website and it says 2021, and we built it, and it didn't auto flip, I'm like, what effing developer?
Yep.
But I tell everybody on the day they're hired, I am ruthless when I see mistakes. And it's not pretty, and it's not fun, and it's not a good characteristic trait. I just want you to know how I act when I see dumb mistakes. And they go, okay, well, at least I know. And so that's ultimately, I think that like we're a lot of people, like if Better.com CEO didn't portray himself as the greatest CEO of all time, it'd probably be fine.
Or if you knew that this might, when we have to let people go, we will do it in this manner.
Yeah.
If you know that going in.
Hey, by the way, also, this is what always amazes me. How do people have 900 employees to let go? like how do phones still get answered at one? Like, I mean, because it's Peloton. How many employees did they fire? 12,000 employees? How do you have 12,000 employees you can fire and still deliver things?
I really don't know. I think that maybe their projections of growth were overestimated, or something occurred that slowed down the projections. But another thing is that I've learned, that doesn't mean this is what's happened. This is what I've learned, is that through growth, companies will bring in more than they need so that in 3 months later they can get rid of dead wood. They bring in people so that they can then get rid of the people that they wanted to get rid of without firing them in their face. Like, we're going to bring in, we need 300, but we're going to bring in 600 so that I can get rid of the 300 people that we don't, that we need to get rid of. And then I can use our projections didn't get met. We're way under where we need to be. And for the strength of the company, I have to let 300 people go. And then he's actually just like, I can't wait to get rid of her. I can't wait to get rid of that guy. I've been trying to get rid of this guy for 6 months. And then it looks like he's taking the responsibility because he projected the growth, or she projected the growth to be X. It turned out to be Y. And now I have to do something I'm sorry about. So then he takes on the responsibility of the failure, but he's really just like, man, get ready to get rid of that dead wood off that tree. So
my favorite, everybody's like, they fired their entire race diversity team. And it was like, well, yeah, because that doesn't produce revenue and they're broke. Like there's two sides to this. As you said, like there's part of me who runs a business like, yeah, like if you need money, you can't do it on things that aren't essential.
Yeah.
There was one lady at Peloton that got fired because I'm a nerd, so I'm like reading through the different roles. So first, there was a thread of like, I got fired from Peloton on LinkedIn. It was a hashtag, and then it showed you everybody that posted something with that hashtag.
Wow.
And this one lady, she was in charge of finding nonprofits to give Pelotons away to for free. She was just in charge of giving away money.
Expendable.
And I thought, well, yeah, no wonder you were fired. Why did your role ever exist?
No kidding. No kidding, because it was probably for a short window of time to create their donations or a charitable outreach.
Yeah.
And once it was met, snip.
Yeah, there's kind of this, so if somebody wants to go help a village, they go to the village, like, oh man, they don't have air conditioning. They go install air conditioning, and then they go there a year later and it's unplugged, and they go, hey, why aren't you using this? Well, we can't afford the electricity for it. Like, oh. And so I think what Peloton does, I love this. This is hilarious in my opinion. They give away free Pelotons to like big sister, big brother programs, stuff like that, like community centers. But then they don't give them a free subscription of the like class.
Wow.
So there's just a bunch of bikes just sitting there.
Wow. That's because I don't use Peloton. I forgot about the subscription piece. It's not just the machine. Yeah. You have to subscribe to get your rider.
Yeah, and the best part is I love when people do this, especially on theirs where their cost is $0.
Yeah.
They'll go, we're going to give you it's $30 a month. We're going to give it to you for $10 a month. We're awesome.
Well, there's something to be said for nothing's free in this world. But in any way, if you're trying to give it away and you're trying to do it like that, free's probably better.
It's a crazy time we're living in.
No question about it.
And unfortunately, COVID didn't really wipe through it like I was hoping it would.
It probably did some damage, but not complete.
I mean, we're still giving $100 million to any 20-year-old with a cool idea. Like private equity is still out of control right now, especially more venture capital than private equity. But.
Yeah, I think that we have a lot of problems, right? There's a lot of problems, and we just keep printing more money to cover up the problem.
Oh, I know what I want to talk about.
So I'm fascinated to see where we're going, and more than likely, at some point, the gravy train is going to end.
No. No, you
don't think so?
No, I mean it's. We'll dive into this. Okay, I have this question I've been dying to ask that I just thought of, but I've thought about this a lot recently. So we have guys that become women and then dominate at the women's sport. Has it happened in golf yet?
No.
Is it going to happen in golf?
I doubt it. But it's that swimmer's making a really big dent.
Because just think about
If Tiger Woods put on the LPGA Tour. The thing is, though,
just picture it.
Yeah, I think that golf would be a sport, though, that it wouldn't be a boat race like the swimming is, or basketball would be, right? Because there are girls that hit 300 yards now, and they're really good. Like people have no idea how.
Okay, how the hell did Michelle Wee always hit it so far? I could never figure that out.
She's really big.
Really? Okay.
Oh, yeah. She's really big.
Because in photos, she looks like she's 140 pounds and like 5'5".
No. 5'11" or 6.
Okay.
Long arms. Good athlete. Just broke.
Because I remember that she would crush the ball, and I was always...
she's the big Wheezy, right? So she was she's 5'11" at least.
I
think she's taller than that, though.
I really wanted to date Lexi Thompson. And so I worked very hard at a meeting with her. And then I was like, oh, I actually don't want to date a LPGA golfer. And also, you're like 3 times stronger than me and work out all the time. So
yeah, she's big and strong. But I think of golf, first of all, it's a sport that probably wouldn't fall prey to that. It's possible, but I don't think it would. And I'm not sure the ruling bodies would allow it to happen.
Okay.
Golf's way more conservative than most sports because it's a rich person sport for sure. But basketball has potentially be a problem. Obviously, swimming right now is a major problem. Track and field is a major problem.
Yeah, track and field is...
It's a bit.
It's so hilarious to me.
Well, I mean, this swimmer that won the NCAA championship at the 500 meter. I mean, it's how, first of all, how that person can even think good about themselves is appalling to me. And then how they can be celebrated is on another level of appalling. And it's such a bad look. I don't like, why don't they just have their own race? I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with people who feel like they were wrong genetically. Like I got a bad deck of cards. I get it. Well, then there should just be a transgender race.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. There has to be value in who's the fastest at this with that particular issue. But I don't see it fair that this person who's claiming to be a girl now is absolutely destroying them in the pool. And there's this another person won the 200 meters and won by like, he probably was halfway done his Gatorade by the time the second girl crossed the line. And I'm like, it's embarrassing. And I don't get why it's celebrated. I don't even know how it's done. And we're starting to see more and more states now making it illegal to do that. I think we're at 34 now. Oh my goodness. It's ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous, actually.
Yeah, because the mental image of Tiger showing at LPGA event.
or Bryson DeChambeau, right? It's insane. But the thing, I would imagine, it'd be interesting to see a possibility in tennis. Tennis could be a problem. Because
it's very liberal.
And you get like 6'3" male changes. Well, that's a different serve. That's a different serve. And, I think that could be a problem for sure. I think basketball has the potential for it. Obviously, football doesn't have a potential for it.
Yeah.
Soccer, maybe, but I would imagine it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Yeah, I don't think that's one that's very, I would say, equal, maybe.
I mean, certainly if they were super fast or had one particular asset that was radically different. But still,
all these people are like C-level guy athletes.
That's the
thing. It's no A-level guy athlete that's going over.
That's right.
Because he wants to compete, and it's not competing when you're
100%. But it also leads us to this is a perfect segue to an issue that we had like 7 years ago, which is why can't Serena take on Federer? So she goes on national TV and she's like, I don't want any part of that. He would destroy me because we have played. He would crush me. Really? Yeah. And I'm like, there's just no way when you're talking about strength or speed being an issue, human speed. Obviously, Danica Patrick's speed is different.
She's never won a NASCAR race.
She has not, but it wouldn't be because she's a woman. It's because she doesn't have the fastest car. Because I don't think that she has any less a capable skill to drive a car than a guy does. But I'm here to tell you that if Serena Williams wanted to take on Nadal, it's over.
That'd be awesome.
Right? If the best basketball player wanted to post up on Shaq in his prime, it's over. Yeah. Somebody trying to stop Jordan, ain't it happening. That's the thing. I'm like that argument is like, why can't we celebrate Serena for who she was? Instead of trying to put her out there, like putting Michelle Wie out there on the PGA Tour. I'm like, that's not doing anybody any good.
Did she do a PGA Tour event?
Oh yeah. She didn't she almost made the cut in Hawaii at the Sony Open. She missed it by 1, and she missed it by 2 in another one. She played in like 5.
Okay.
But she wasn't. If there's anybody that deserved the opportunity, and she learned quickly that she had no prayer, was Annika. Annika's the best female player since Mickey Wright, and if she's not the greatest ever, it's only because Mickey Wright's better. And she played in the Colonial, which is a golf course that's short by PGA Tour standards. She got roasted, and that was in her prime.
Yeah,
you just can't do it. So so what do? We've now brought in a minor leaguer into a minor league male into the primetime female sport, and it's just an absolute boat race. So what's that telling you? If Michael Jordan decided to do that in his prime, it would be awful embarrassing. So we can't do that. And that's of all the things that it gives us the opportunity to do is, why can't we celebrate women's sports for women's sports instead of trying to compare them? I know we live in a comparison world. Is Jack better than Tiger? Is Tiger better than Jack?
Yeah, but I mean, this is like where one segment of society wants to just like. There's this weird thing. I saw there were all these signs in neighborhoods during last summer that were like, we believe that Black Lives Matter. We believe that and science is real. And so it was this thing of like, well, science is only real if it's like regards to you need to wear a face mask. It's not real in regards to men are stronger than women.
That's right.
And it's not like I think there's a story of Serena Williams playing tennis with like the 300th player in the world and him like destroying her. Mm-hmm. And it's like, this is nothing to do about Serena. This is about that men and women are built differently.
100%.
Like if I beat my wife in an arm wrestle, I don't like text all my friends like, beat her this week, did it.
That's right. And I think that it was either Jimmy Kimmel. I think it was Jimmy Kimmel, but if it wasn't Kimmel, it was I can't think of the other guy's name. Is so famous. He was on Saturday Night Live at some point. She came on and she talked about taking on Federer, and it was just an absolute destruction. So that I don't see serves like that. I don't know how to play that game. And the best way to compare is like if you've played high level high school baseball and you've seen a 90-mile-per-hour fastball for the first time, you can't hit it. It takes a while to adjust to that speed. When you see 99, it's like, whoa. So like when you understand how these guys train, I mean, they're training on 108 miles per hour, 110 miles per hour. It's really difficult, but what it does is it makes that 99-mile-per-hour pitch look really slow.
Yeah.
And like that to me is like when you go the other side of that, you can't prepare for something that is on you so fast. It's just different. Speed kills. And when it comes to every sport and every business, anything that does something faster than somebody else wins. So, I mean, I think that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like when I've played with some phenomenal golfers and I'm like, oh, I know where I'm at.
That's right. When you're around greatness, it's so cool if you can take it for what it is. So I've played a lot of golf with Snedeker in my lifetime. And I'm like, I cannot believe you beat me.
Is he still local?
Mm-hmm.
Where does he play?
Well, wherever he wants. When you're Brant Snedeker, I mean, the Golf Club of Tennessee, but he's got playing privileges everywhere because who doesn't want an ambassador of golf for probably the ambassador of golf for Tennessee? Who wouldn't want them to have his golf course? But he met the golf club, and I know he's a member at Hillwood as well.
Is Bellmead a good club or just super expensive?
I think the golf course was better before they redesigned it, but it's always in amazing shape, and it's a good golf course. I just think that there are a couple
some of your
holes.
kids members?
Almost. A large percentage. A large percentage.
All right, let's dive into this brain tool y'all have.
Mm-hmm. So it's Focus Band, which is the one you're talking about, zone training. Is that the one you want to?
Both of them sounded insane to me.
So Focus Band is a headband that you wear. It's got EEG pads on it, and it measures your brain waves. And then there's an app that demonstrates where you are in your brain waves. So we're trying to get you into theta, right? So we're trying to get your brain waves to get further apart, which is a sign your prefrontal cortex is disengaged. And the prefrontal cortex is what slows down muscle, the brain sending information to the muscles to fire. It slows down what you already know. So once I teach you how to use the app, you learn how to control your breathing, you learn how to control your eye movements, and all of those things play a critical role in shutting off your prefrontal cortex. As soon as you start practicing, and you can train your brain like you train your right arm to load the golf club correctly, your hips to turn in the downswing. Once you learn how to make yourself accessible to the zone or flow state, you can train it and you can make it occur whenever you want. But it takes training, right? So you have the band. It gives you audio feedback when you're there. And you hit balls and you go through routines and you go through training for hours with it on. And then you take it off and you try to find it, and then we'll put the band back on and see where you are, but I won't have the audio feedback on it. I'll just have it sitting there, and I'll be like, you got it. Or, we're not there yet, and we just keep going. It's ridiculously awesome stuff.
What does this thing cost?
$5.99.
That's it?
Yeah. It's amazing.
Now, can you use it for your, where does it help? Does it help in business? Does it help in,
Yeah, but basically it delineates when you're right brain and when you're left brain. So right brain is the creative side. It's the performance side of athletics, right? But there are certain things in your life that you need to be left brain. Mathematics, engineers, architecture. You need to be hyper-focused on getting it right. You can just train it the other way. If it doesn't give you the audio feedback, that if you hear silence, that means you're in the right place. If you need performance, you need to hear the audio feedback to know that you're in the right place. But when you train yourself to be there, you can flip the switch, and that's power. That's power. To be able to know where you are and get your mind in the right place, it's the linchpin to greatness.
So that's one tool.
And the other one is, oh my goodness, it's neuropriming, right? So basically, you get it, you take these little nubs and you get them wet, and they're damp, and you put it on, and it sends electrical stimulus to the brain, and it gets your brain ready to learn, and it changes your ability to learn up to 30%. So you can learn, you can withhold. It's Halo Neuroscience.
What
It's
do these
unbelievable.
cost?
That's $499.
$499
Yeah.
or $500,000?
$499.
What's it called? What's the brand?
Halo Neuroscience. HALO. Halo Neuroscience. So you put it on, you get the thing up wet, you put it on your head, and you feel you feel the vibrations. You feel the vibrations as you're learning, as you have it on. And you can have music in your ear, you can have nothing in your ear, whatever. It's headphones, just like we're wearing right here. Except up in this part, there's neuropriming, there's electrical stimulus going into your brain, and it impulses your brain into a hyper learning state. Super cutting
Why is
edge.
I don't have a business coach, but no other business coaches do. Why aren't business coaches doing shit like this?
I don't know, but I get hired to do it. But most people think that I only coach golf. That's the difference. So one of the things that irritates me is that I'm only known for coaching golf. So that's like the second half of my professional career. I'm trying to change that because I know what I do is coach golf. I know that's what's got me here, right?
Put a Rolex on your wrist.
That's right. But at the end of the day, human performance, what it takes to be great is the same. You just change the topic. Well, that's what I specialize in. It just so happens that golf is my game. But when you understand what it takes to be great at something, it's not very difficult. My job is to help you understand. So when I started becoming one of the major forces in focus band training, people were coming in, CEOs were coming in because they're great golfers. And they're like, hey, man, how does this work in business? I'm like, well, I'll show you. And they're like, whoa, that's different. I'm like, yeah. And you have evidence. Like the difference between...
Please tell me it's like taking the limitless pill in that movie. That's what I want.
Is that what you want?
I want to just flip this on and then I just day trade and make $100 million a day. That'd be ideal.
Well, I think that here's the thing. If you have the talent to day trade and you know the game and you find out where your nervous system limitations are to pull the trigger on highly volatile situations, if you know where that is, you can be trained out of it. But that's the key. You can't make a genius from somebody that's not genius.
Yeah.
Right? You can't make a PGA Tour player to somebody who's never played the game. But if you have a PGA Tour physical talent and the fear of failure or some type of shame-based trauma has made the fear of failure bigger than the desire to succeed, that's erasable. But first thing you have to do, you have to be honest enough with yourself to know that something really terrible happened to me and I can't shake it. Then you can have it taken away. And that's what most people don't understand, is that there are people out there that underperform with radical talent, and that's mental.
So what's the next 20 years look like for you?
I'm trying to delineate that myself, right? So I love this podcast world. I got two. One long form similar to this called On the Verge, and I have one that I do with Drew Maddox called Elevated. I love it. I love what Joe Rogan does. I think Rogan's extraordinary. And I love this format here. This is really cool. I like what you have a lot of cool stuff going on here. and it's different than what I do. So I'm learning a lot. This is pretty cool. I love that part. I have a reasonable understanding of wine and how to incorporate the entertainment and education of wine into golf or business and how they relate. People love wine, but it's an intimidating topic. They love golf, but it's an intimidating topic. And they love to be successful, but it can be an intimidating topic. And to be able to navigate a drink like wine that takes away some inhibitions while they're drinking it, but inform them of what it is that they're doing and show them the similarities of the artwork that created it versus the artwork that it takes for you to be great. It's an education and it's an entertainment. So at the end of the day, I know that I'm a coach. Will I end up being a business coach? Maybe. But I love this kind of platform where I get a chance to be around other great people and share their story. And while I'm sharing their story to help others, I'm helping myself first, which is, I'm sure, what it is that you feel like. Golly, one of the cool things about doing a podcast is I'm here to highlight somebody, but I'm getting a lot out of it myself. And that's one of the coolest things for me. I know that I'm probably going to always be a golf coach because I've had a lot of success at it, and I'll always be asked to be that guy. But I want to feel like I do something bigger, and I think that something I'm doing with Drew Maddox has the potential to do that. And if the worst thing that happens is that I just stay being this golf coach, I've lived a really good life. But I would like to feel like I have something else to bring to the table other than high draws.
Yeah. I mean, doesn't it feel good though?
Yes, it does.
Knowing that you're kind of constantly moving up.
Yeah. I think one of the things that make it great, right? You have people that believe in you, believe in your track record, and they're asking you for help, and then you deliver. And they're so grateful that you help them achieve their goal. You know, the fact that I've had 202 kids now get a golf scholarship since I've been coaching.
How many have you coached?
I don't know that number, probably in the thousands. But to have 202 kids play college golf, what's interesting is that 202, 6 of them played either on the Korn Ferry Tour or the PGA Tour, and only one of them was on the PGA Tour, right? So it's really hard. But what I try to get them to understand is that golf is the most powerful business sport in the world. And the worst possible outcome of becoming a good golfer is you get a chance to use this game to make you a lot of money. So let's take it serious, because you don't have to play on TV to be awesome at this and make it something that fulfills your life for the rest of your life. That's what I kind of see myself doing. It's like I'm going to use golf to create the next version of myself, whether I'm coaching it or I'm using the game in its environment to cultivate another level of business out of it. That's what I see myself doing.
We don't have enough golf courses in Middle Tennessee.
No, we do not. And with all the people that are moving here,
is anybody going to fix this?
It's going to take a lot of money because the land is so expensive, right? And then it's going to take a lot of money that somebody doesn't care about losing, because it's not going to be fiscally possible to keep it up unless it's private. And then it's going to take a little bit of time to keep it afloat while you're building a membership. But if you have...
Every place is on a wait list.
Every place.
And they've raised their dues.
Astronomically.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make a difference because the amount of money that's rolling in here. I mean, people are selling their little 1,800 square footer in California, and they're coming in here with $12 million in their pocket. And they're like, I hope to be able to buy something. And they buy something that's 13 times the size, and they still got $3 million in their pocket. And they're like, man, I'm killing it. I think we're in big trouble because we don't have much land that's within the drivable, what could be convenient drivable distance to the money. You know, when you're thinking West Nashville, South Nashville, and Williamson County, that's a window. That's the largest window of income in Nashville.
Franklin Bridge, which was another course.
Yeah. A good friend of mine is the owner of that.
Remember when it went up for sale?
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking, like, I was close to, like, I looked at that deal. I was close to buying it.
Yeah. And Brooks West, who is the owner, I've mentored. He went to Mississippi State with me. He's a great friend of mine. He is killing it. It's the only public golf course in Williamson County. I mean, that's what I say. Like, printing money.
Yeah, I mean, because they've raised their prices to an insane for what the course is. No offense to him, but I mean, it's very
supply demand.
Yep, sold out. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, And so there's you're looking at floodplain.
That's
work,
why I didn't do it. Yeah.
right. So you're looking at floodplain land because you can't logically, if you are an owner of 2,000 acres above the floodplain and you're like, well, I'm going to put a golf course on it or I could put 15,000 homes on it. Which one's going to make me more money? Duh. I'm going to put houses on it. They're going to develop it. It's going to take somebody who loves golf with a lot of money that wants to build it. And then it's a question of, do they keep it public or do they keep it private? Private's the safest way for your investment. Public is what's required in the city.
Yeah.
Therein lies the
I wonder
dilemma.
if you can get a grant from the city.
It would be worth looking if you had the wherewithal and the desire to do it.
I'm just, we saw a huge spike in golf over COVID because people had nothing to do, 400%, something crazy like that.
Insane.
And there's just nowhere to play. And for me, I'm putting a simulator in my house.
Yep.
Because my garage has 14-foot ceilings. So when I tore that house, I was like, oh, they made this garage
Just for me. Yeah. I love that.
Why else would you have 14-foot ceilings?
That's right.
Because we only have 7-foot garage doors. So I can't put any. I can put a boat. I can't put anything in it. It's just like I just have these giant ceilings.
That's perfect.
But I'm a perfect weather golfer. Like I don't play when it's anything outside of perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I can't pull the trigger to join anywhere because I'm like, I don't want to spend $1,000 a month when I'm not playing, like during the winter months or.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So, and do you know Billy Brown?
Yeah. Golf Sanctuary.
Yeah. So we built their web, like they have a splash page, but I've known Billy for years. I did his personal website, stuff like that. But anyway, his is what, $3,500 and $350 a month. And I was like, well, it's 15 minutes from here, but it's not far.
That's right.
So I don't know. I think indoor will become more popular.
Yeah, and I mean, I helped them with their, I was the first TrackMan owner in Tennessee, and there's probably nobody in the country that's seen more golf swings on TrackMan than I have. So I mean, when it comes to TrackMan or indoor technology, one of the first people think about is me because I'm the first, and sometimes it's better to be the first than to be the best, because if you're the first person to do it, everybody's going to look at you as, hey, what do we need to do here? So I helped with the Golf Sanctuary. I helped with basically the West Haven. I taught there for 6 years, and that building was built with me there. Gaylord, same thing. So all of these things, it's all set up. Great coaching requires great technology because in the technology era, we don't need to guess anymore. We can know.
Yeah.
And what TrackMan has done now is they've made it so that you only need X amount of space to play TBC Sawgrass. And you don't get the wind, but you can make the wind blow, but you don't feel it. And you don't get the uneven lies, but you feel like you played Royal County down in 55 minutes over your lunch break. You shot 74. you got a lunch, and now you go back to work, and you feel like you got your swings in. You learned something because you got all this data. It's where golf is going. And especially in a situation where we're here in Nashville, which is all the clubs are full, all the public golf courses are slammed. Some of them aren't that great. And you're like, why am I paying $85 for this? But then you want to play. So it's a very unique situation. And that's where the technology is saving the day. Like Golf Sanctuary's got to be doing very well. I mean, Michael Shin is a good buddy of mine. He's the Browns partner.
Yeah, he's in the emails, but I've never met him.
Yeah, super guy. And both of them are awesome. And they have a great concept. And that concept is going to work because, in all actuality, there's probably 90 days a year in Nashville that fall under perfect. What are you going to do the other 270? I'll hit inside because it's either 32 or 102 or raining. What are you going to do?
See, now I'm like, man, should I get the TrackMan instead of the GT3?
Well, I mean, I will tell you this. The TrackMan becomes super valuable if you want to learn to be better. If you're going to use data to make you a better player, it isn't even really close. But if you're using it to play golf and hit shots and entertain yourself, GC3 is a very quality deal.
Yeah, so this is where I'm uneducated. And I tell myself this, that I know when I hit a ball good or not. Mm-hmm. And so I really just need a net. And if I have this thing that kind of confirms that, that's good enough for me. Mm-hmm. But then I started to be like you, and it makes me think like, oh, maybe.
Well, here's the thing.
Maybe that's wrong.
We know when we hit a good shot, but we don't know what it actually looked like. We know it's probably pretty good. But here's the thing: is if you're good, if you don't have any evidence, right? You're just whacking balls and you're striping it, and then you go out on the golf course, and all of a sudden you got like this 20-yard draw, but every ball feels great. You've now infected your golf swing, right? Because something happened.
Yeah, which is why I want because I'm like, this $7,000 machine will definitely tell me if I'm hooking it or slicing it.
It should, with the stickers on it. With the stickers on it, that's right. But it has limitations on its parameters. TrackMan does not. But you're talking about a system. It's $49,500, soup to nuts. Like that's the screen, the canvas.
Do you have to get it all, or do you just have to have their piece?
I don't think you have to get it all.
I know it's like $25,000 just for the TrackMan.
Yeah, $24,400 for the TrackMan itself, and then when you get the computer, because you have to have that gaming computer, which is a beast of a computer, then you're probably okay. And if you want cameras, there's another $800 per. So you go something down the line, something face on, you're probably looking at 31.
Yeah, not going to do it.
Yes, I mean there's your answer. I mean at the end of the day, it's a teaching device first.
Who do you know there?
At TrackMan?
Yeah. I need them to sponsor something I do. Like
well, I can tell you right now, if they're making the tour players pay half price, nobody makes tour players pay for anything. And you go on the driving range and there's orange boxes up and down that driving, and they're all paying for it. The TrackMan.
Do they have patents that people isn't? Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Well, I guess that's it. I don't know if we have anything else to talk about. Anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to promote?
Well, man, at the end of the day, I'm grateful to be here, and being on your platform is really cool. I got a chance to see something that I don't do, and I've learned from it. I like your style. I think one of the most important things for me is to know that the possibilities are endless for people, and I'm just a big believer in encouraging people to take chances and say yes to opportunities, even if you don't know how to do it, and then figure it out. That's what it looks like you've done here. You've said yes to an opportunity, and then you figured out how to do it really awesome. Like this is different, and I don't do video, right? So I can't really say it's better because I don't do video. But because it's different, it makes me think of how much different and better I could make what I'm doing. So I'm the obviously outside of the content and being able to be on your platform, is you've showed me another possibility of the level of greatness that I can bring for myself.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that.
When you have video, then you can publish it. Yeah. That means Instagram, Facebook, YouTube now are all platforms. With audio, you can't use those platforms.
That's right.
You can just post audio on Instagram. Nobody cares.
That's right. So that's where I'm grateful for the opportunity, because I got a chance to experience something that I didn't know how it could look. And for me, like if I walk into a house that's being built and it's just studs, it literally means nothing to me. I'm like, isn't this going to be amazing? And I'm like, it looks like studs to me.
Yeah.
But if you put me in a fully finished product, I know what great looks like. So when somebody says, why don't you get cameras and why don't you videotape it? I'm like, but I don't know what it looks like.
Yeah.
Now I know what it can look like. And now I can like all my mind is like, this is easily doable. I just didn't know what it would look like. And I do mine at the golf center at Ensworth. So I would have to begin to think about where I would do it, because this wouldn't work where I'm at, which is fine. I have no problem with that. But like, that's the thing that I'm grateful for, is that I got a chance to experience something I knew nothing about. So I'm grateful to come in here and be on your podcast. This is phenomenal. But on top of all of that, you're doing something different than I'm doing, that it makes me think that just when I thought that I was really doing something good, there's another layer to it that I can add on to it, and I'm grateful.
So it's funny. Our last house was perfect room, 16 by 16 room, 11-foot ceilings, and so we had all the lights hang down and all this. This very short ceilings, curved. So I had the curtains made for the last house. That's why they hang on the floor, because they're just not made for this room.
Sure.
But this time I brought in a light expert from the start. And so these lights have been perfectly measured from where you sit to where it's like we sat with a string and then measured the string, and like how hot they are, everything is like perfectly aligned to that.
Wow.
And so it's really interesting. There's levels to everything.
Sure.
And I'm on, my goal was presentable is what I wanted. Right.
Yeah.
And so, and I don't know if you've seen our videos, but they look really, really
That's
sharp.
what I'm looking forward to say. I have not. So when I got the email, I was like, interesting. So I started to investigate what that I was getting ready to do. I was like, wow, this guy does video. I wonder how this is going to go because I've not been involved in something like that. So I show up and I'm like, I walk in here in a meeting. I'm like, okay, so this is easily doable. It was way simpler once I see it than when it sounds like when somebody says, oh, you just need this. And then my brain's like, well, what's that mean? But when you see it, you're like going, okay, so this is feasible.
How do people connect with you?
So I'm active on social media. I'm a motivator on social media. I don't really use social media to promote teaching golf. I use Instagram, which is virgil.herring, to motivate people and inspire people or pass on messages that are powerful. Facebook, the same. I have them all intertwined. So that's Virgil Herring as well. And then my Twitter account, which I haven't changed because it was what I called my radio show when I was on 104.5 The Zone for 17 years, was Virgil Tour Spin. And so I'm at Virgil Tour Spin on Twitter, Virgil.Herring at Instagram, and Virgil Herring on Facebook. And I actually do most of my golf stuff on LinkedIn.
Do you have a website?
At virgilherring.com.
Okay.
But it's interesting. Like now more people reach out to me through my messaging on Instagram than they do on my website. My website doesn't bring me even close to the amount of business LinkedIn and Instagram does.
Same. But the thing about a website is you can then leverage it as your home for all your content.
Yeah. And that's what I'm doing. But it's interesting. Like right now, my content's what's stored inside my head. People want to hear what I have to say about something.
Yeah, that's true.
And so all I'm doing is driving people to come get a golf lesson, or driving people to do these wine and golf events, or driving people to a speaking event that I'm doing with Drew.
Who's the Tom Black? Do you know him?
Yeah, I do know Tom Black. He's a unique bird.
I remember I met with him and I thought this guy has the most rich man laugh I've ever met. I've ever heard in my whole life.
Yep. So a funny story about Tom Black. So he used to live in the Westmead Mansion, and he threw this gigantic party. And because of my involvement in the wine community, and he's the biggest wine guy in this state, I was invited, not by Tom.
How many 1,000 bottles is that to be the biggest in Tennessee?
It's not just about how many bottles, it's what bottles he has. So he's the largest collector of Petrus, which is arguably the most famous wine in Bordeaux. It's a Merlot-based wine. Obviously, most people recognize Haut-Brion or Lafite or Latour, but on the Merlot side, Petrus is the most expensive wine in the world, and he's the largest collector of it, right? He's also a heavy collector in the very high-end Burgundies and Bordeauxs. So at this party, he set it up for his friend, Debbie Dorr, who's a custom clothier designer. So I'm invited to go to this. And I don't wear suits. And I love your suit, but I'm a golf professional, right? So I'm not wearing suit and tie ever, once or twice a year. So she's there. Would you like to sign up and have a chance to win a custom-made suit from me? I'm like, not really, because I'm never going to wear it. And I would feel terrible if I were to win because I'd never wear it. So literally coming down the home stretch of the party before they're getting ready to do it, somebody buys a ticket for me. And what they did is they put all of the names in a gift box for wine, like a little cylinder. Mine goes on top. She shakes it. But the thing is completely stuffed full of names. Shake for like a minute. Pulls it out. Tom Black pulls it out. And the winner is Virgil Herring. Who the hell is Virgil Herring? And I'm like, right here. That's me. He goes, great. You win. Right? So the person that bought the ticket, it was my brother-in-law. He's like, hey, you want to step outside? I'll take that smirk right off your face. Right? And it turns into kind of a confrontational because he was a dick about me winning, and that's how he can be. But while going through all of that, we tasted 4 different Petruses, a bunch of DRC, which is Romani Conti, which is the best Burgundy Pinots, and all kinds of Bordeauxs. And I was like, this is heaven for a wine guy. We were drinking the greatest wines in the world. And it just so happens he didn't like the fact that I won the custom made suit. And he tried to embarrass me in front of hundreds of people. And my brother-in-law had no part of it. And he was looking to knock his teeth out. And it got pretty hostile. But I mean, he is, in some ways, he's a genius. He has taken so many companies from the beginning to massive success and then sells them. He's super successful and he's a brilliant man. And he has a very compelling story. I don't know if you know his story. It's unbelievable how he has gotten to where he is today. So in many ways, he is somebody to study in levels of perseverance and grit and grind and willingness to do whatever it takes to be successful. He just sometimes delivers a message that he probably wishes he had delivered a little bit differently. But he's a very...
Does he have the most rich man laugh ever, though?
He's in a very esteemed class of occasions of laughs.
You know his laugh.
Oh yeah,
his laugh is like he's the guy that will laugh in a whole restaurant louder than everybody.
Oh yeah,
because it's like I got fuck you money.
That's exactly right. You know he's there even if you don't see him.
Yeah,
you know he's there if you don't see him.
What happened that was so funny? Okay, so I meet with him. A guy makes an intro to him. The guy's very excited to make this intro. He's like, I'm going to introduce you to the most successful guy I know. I go, okay. So I sit with him, and he's like, yeah, I'll make an intro to so, blah, 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 blah. All these people could be really helpful for you. I'll make intros to them. I'm like, okay, sounds good. So a week later, I follow up, like, hey, just following up on these intros. And he writes back, what intros did I say I'd make? And I was like, I don't know. I didn't write them down. I was like, you mentioned these about these people. And he writes, okay. And then I think he made one intro, and because he remembered nothing about me, I guess I was just forgettable. Then I ran I started a company called Rabbit, which is like a really sexy, cool company that crushed by COVID. And then I have one now, which is like does custom design, development, software, stuff like that. So this is like kind of to people like him, it's just dumb. This might have been cool, it might not have been. But anyway, his intro was something like, "This is Nathan. I told him I would introduce him to you." That was it.
He's a transactional guy, right? We talked about it. He's a transactional guy. Here's what I can do for you. What can you do for me? Right? That's his MO. He's a very transactional guy. If you understand his background, it's easy to understand how he's turned out that way. So I don't really hold anything against him in that way, because he is so self-made and he is driven because of how far down he started. And I admire the heck out of that. I just would not deliver messages the way he delivers them sometimes. But
So did you get the suit?
Oh yeah.
Is it awesome?
It is. And it's hilarious. It's dark blue pinstriped. It is badass. And she did a great job. But I'm like,
wear it once a year.
Once or twice a year. And Debbie Doerr's phenomenal. I've done multiple ties to go in the shirts I get with. But I mean, I have a white shirt until the collar gets messed up, and then I get another white shirt, and then because it's the only. I mean, that's really that, or a turquoise shirt would be the only thing that would go with the suit. So I'm like, it just is what it is. I'm a golf pro that shows up twice a year in a suit. Whoop-de-doo.
Well, I guess that's it.
Well, thank you very much for having me on the show.
Thanks for coming on. Had a great time.
Thank you very much.